Can everybody hear me?
Ooh, yeah.
My name is Patrick Brown, and I'm here to talk to you today. Well, actually, I'm here to deliver a sermon. I didn't realize this until I read it on the pamphlet. So I think a sermon traditionally would start, if you'll permit me a bit of hubris, with a quote. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you cannot explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there was something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's a splinter in your mind driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. In the immortal words of Morpheus. So I represent a group called Burners Without Borders, Corpus Christi. And Burners Without Borders is basically the disaster relief arm of the Burning Man Project. I am a performer with a band that's called Architect. And in that I put on a metal suit and I play with millions of volts of electricity. I performed all over the world. And our biggest show was America's Got Talent, where we went to the semifinals and we played in front of 17 million viewers. And that was pretty cool. I have a master's degree in vocational rehabilitation counseling. I work with Texans with disabilities to help them gain, maintain employment within their strengths and capabilities. I served in that capacity for about 3 years before I went on the road with Architect. For the past decade, I've been doing disaster relief here in the state of Texas. I've done flood, I've done fire, I've done hurricane, and we've done various public works projects in and around the state of Texas serving underserved communities. So the question that may be burning in your mind, what is Burning Man? Has anyone here in the audience ever been on Playa? 2. So we have a couple of people who are familiar with what Burning Man is by direct experience. But in the general sense, what Burning Man is what we call a transformative festival. And we go to Burning Man not knowing what we're going to bring home from it. But almost everyone will tell us and tell you that we were changed because of that experience. And that is the crux to the transformative experience. Now, Burning Man itself is put on by the participants. The infrastructure we drop, we put in an airport, we build the man, which you can see there in the middle, and we make center camp. But the rest of the festival is created by the participants, for the participants. And when Burning Man hit a critical point where they finally started to sell out of tickets, they made a decision to start the Burning Man Regional Project. And so during this, it was decided that they would lay out some principles to help guide the growth of the regionals in the United States and abroad. And I think we have about 150 of them now in the United States, Africa, Europe, Australia, Japan. It's a worldwide spreading movement, a network of individual participants who want to share that vision. And Burners Without Borders was born after Hurricane Katrina. And Hurricane Katrina hit while Burning Man was happening. And when you're out on Playa, you don't have access to your cell phone, you don't have access to the internet, so word of mouth spread. And people packed up their stuff and left to go render services. Because what we do in essence is we build a city for 70,000 people on our own. Now, the 10 principles that are listed to guide, and that is basically what we're going to be talking about today. The principle number 1 is radical inclusion. Anyone may be a part of Burning Man. We welcome and respect the stranger, and no prerequisites exist for participation in our community. Now, all of these principles to me translate into freedom. So when I'm walking around, I don't have to question, do you belong here? Do you belong here? Because everyone belongs. It's an intentional community. When you make that decision, to buy that ticket and take the ride, and you show up, we welcome you. We welcome the stranger because it's easiest when we don't have to prejudge people and we can just look around and say, hey, welcome home. The second principle of Burning Man is gifting. Burning Man is devoted to acts of gift giving. The value of the gift is unconditional. Gifting does not contemplate a return or exchange in value. Now this is one of those things that's always bothered me about gifts, because if you look and you see an advertisement and you say, free gift, well, we all know that that's not free. There's something that's understood that we should give back because we have been gifted. And in sociology, we refer to this as the reciprocity norm. And it's one of those things that has created some of the sickness that we have in our modern culture, because a gift, according to Burning Man, is free. I give it to you, and I don't care after that, even if you don't even like it. That's your stuff. You know, I brought this, I gifted it, and then I go on about my merry way. Now, decommodification is principle number 3. And it's a little dicey insofar, let me just, in order to preserve the spirit of gifting, our community seeks to create social environments that are unmediated by commercial sponsorships, transactions, or advertising. We stand ready to protect our culture from such exploitation. We resist the substitution of consumption for the participatory experience. So decommodification just means basically that you can come to Burning Man. We welcome you, but leave your business at home. Because when we gift, we don't think about reciprocity. We don't think that you might patronize our business. And what you'll find is that most gifts that are given at Burning Man were created by hand. Usually it'll be a little art piece or a trinket, but it could be performance art. It could be a multitude. The gift is designed and envisioned by the person giving the gift. And when we accept money and when we accept goods and services from commercial entities, they don't understand what gifting means. And the reciprocity norm comes into play. So to keep it clean, to keep it free, we decommodify. Radical self-reliance. Burning Man encourages the individual to discover, exercise, and rely on his or her own inner resources. Now, functionally, what this translates into is that when you come to one of our events, it is assumed that you have brought all of your food, all of your clothing, enough water, and other drinks to make it through that time. And this is freedom as well. Because if I'm not worried about where I'm going to get my next meal, if I'm not worried about what I'm going to put on when it gets down to 40 degrees at night, then I am much more free to interact with other individuals whom I come in contact with. And all of these things are designed to elicit a pure exchange of ideas and information between people. Radical self-expression. Radical self-expression arises from the unique gifts of the individual. No one other than the individual or collaborating group can determine its content. It is offered as a gift to others. In this spirit, the giver should respect the rights and liberties of the recipient. So, radical self-expression, why do we have to call it radical? Well, as a key portion of the transformative event, we make things larger than life. Because when we walk through our daily lives, we may not realize it, but we're carrying a bunch of baggage. And this could be, I'm worried about paying my rent on time, or I have an email that I need to write to my boss, or I have this or that, or maybe my friends aren't doing as well as they could. Well, all of these small little things pile up, and they impinge on our consciousness, and they act as a deterrent from genuine discourse. And so that's why we say, let's be radical in our self-expression. Because when we make it so large, when we make it crazy, when we make it to where you can barely understand what you're seeing around you, you are more able to step outside of yourself and challenge those things that we think all the time that might actually be a hindrance rather than an avenue of personal growth. Communal effort, principle number 6. Our community values creative cooperation and collaboration. We strive to provide and promote and protect social networks, public spaces, works of art, and methods of communication that support such interaction. And in our case, that's the beach. Because that is a place where we can all come together and we can say, this is ours. When we work together as a team, we form bonds that might not necessarily be there otherwise. And in the end, we are, by default, an intentional community. And that means that we come together with the intention of doing the things that we're talking about right now. Civic responsibility. We value civil society. Community members who organize events should assume responsibility for public welfare and endeavor to communicate civic responsibility to participants. They must also assume responsibility for conducting events in accordance with local, state, and federal law. So that means that when you come to a Burning Man event, we've dotted the I's and crossed the T's. We got enough porta potties for folks that are going to be there, and we have all the other necessary services that would be required under a general permit structure. But more than that, this is a way for us to communicate to law enforcement and to the various civic and community groups that we might come in contact with that we are taking your needs into consideration. And while it may be a little crazy, you can be rest assured that we're not going to intentionally do anything that's going to harm another person or individual. And in this case, specifically the beach. Leaving no trace. Now this is one of the key fundamental beliefs that make Burning Man what it is. Our community respects the environment. We're committed to leaving no physical trace, our activities or wherever we gather. We clean up after ourselves and endeavor wherever possible to leave such places in a better state than where we found them. And let me tell you, my people doggedly make this happen. Public shaming is not above what we're going to do. Because you leave your trash behind, we're going to pick it up, insofar as the volunteers who are the core infrastructure who make the event happen. Because the very last thing that we do before our event is done is we do a final MOOP sweep, and then we okay. MOOP is matter out of place. And on the beach, it's really easy to find that stuff. And so what we've done is we've adopted an entire 7-mile stretch of beach that we have declared we are going to maintain by removing all traces of human interaction with that stretch of beach. Participation. There are no spectators at our events. Everyone is a participant. Our community is committed to a radically participatory ethic. We believe that transformative change, whether in the individual or in society, can occur only through the medium of deeply personal participation. We achieve through doing. Everyone is invited to work. Everyone is invited to play. We make this world real through our actions that open the heart. And I think that pretty much stands on its own. We, in the general sense, when you're walking through one of our events, you might walk into something that is happening. Let's say a game that's being played, such as here. We have bowling balls that are being driven by big mallets, like you would play croquet. But radical croquet. Because that's the way we are. We're over the top. And that was a lot of fun. We can really bang that ball. And here we go. Immediacy, staying in the now. This is principle number 10. Immediate experience is, in many ways, the most important touchstone of value in our culture. We seek to overcome barriers that stand between us and the recognition of our inner selves, the reality of those around us, participation in society, and contact with the natural world exceeding human powers. No idea can substitute for this experience. Immediacy means to me that I am being present, right? And we'll go back to the baggage that we carry around and the importance of casting that baggage off when we're having events. When we see big art pieces, when we see big flame effects, and we're mesmerized by the blinky lights, what we're doing is we're casting off all of those self-doubt, self-loathing, or other baggage that we might carry with us, so that way that when I'm speaking to you, you're listening to what I'm saying. I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm not hearing echoes of what your parents said was okay to say in this condition. I'm not giving you a speech that was pre-prepared by the powers that be to deliver from on high. We need to have genuine interaction between one and another in order to grow and develop. And the more time that we can spend in the now, right here, not worrying about what you're going to eat after this is all over. We're not worrying about what time it is. We're not worrying about our email or the bills that we have to pay when we get home or how much it costs that we spent to get here. All of these things fall by the wayside. And what we're left with is a genuine interaction where we can speak what we feel. And that's our gift.